What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Chuds BBQ. My name is Bradley Robinson, and today I'm going to show you how I made this. Beautiful, delicious, smoky, beefy, cheesy, amazing Frito Pie Crunchwrap Supreme. Coming up. This is some brisket. And what I got here is the brisket I cooked in the brisket enchiladas episode a couple weeks back. And it's looking pretty good. It's just been vac sealed and in the freezer, so pulled it out last night, and we're gonna chop this up and make some chili out of it. And of course, I'm talking about Texas chili, chili con carne, the state dish of Texas, which of course has no beans, but we don't need to get into that right now. But it can be made with whatever kind of beef you got. Just some ground beef would work. In the past, I've smoked some chuck roast or beef cheeks or really whatever you got, but making a brisket chili always sounds good to me. Because the only way to make a Texas chili even more Texan is to use smoked brisket. And if you want to see how I made this brisket, you can check out my brisket enchilada video, where I went through the entire cook process, or any of my other brisket videos on the channel, because there's a bunch at this point, but pretty standard cook. And it's always cool to see a chilled brisket, you know, see that fat, see the smoke ring. Boop, beautiful. But to turn this into chili, first thing I'm gonna do is just cube this stuff up. And when doing this, I'm gonna slice it pretty much just like I would if it was a hot brisket, against the grain that is, just to make it break down a little bit easier. But there you go, good looking brisket. You can really see how much fat is in there when it's chilled. And just like that, all cubed up. This is like 4.5 pounds of brisket total, which is too much, but I already took it out of the freezer and I already cubed it up. So we're just gonna make a lot of chili today. So into the pot this goes. This is one of those moments where, will I regret using this small of a pot in about 25 minutes, but I think we'll be all right. So now we're gonna get this cooking down with a quart of some homemade smoky beef stock, nice and gelatinous, still kind of frozen. But I'm gonna pop this on the burner and let it start cooking down. And while that simmers away, we're gonna get our chilies going for this chili, starting with some chilies. Right here I got some Ancho, Guajilo, and some chili de árbol, and into a hot, dry pan they go, just to dry toast for a minute or so. The stems have been removed, and I removed as many seeds as I could, but just a little dry heat to unlock the flavors, soften them up a little bit. Ow. And after just a couple minutes of toasting, you can start smelling them really well. I see a little bit of smoke coming out. We're gonna go in with some more beef stock. Pop a lid on, or let these steep for about 15 minutes. And then into a food processor we go. Again, a blender would be better, but it's still at the Chud shop. And blend that away. Ooh, scrape this down a little bit. Looking nice and dark. A lot of ancho in there. And now I'm gonna go in with some more spices while I'm here, including some salt. Although the brisket is salted, but there's a lot of beef stock in there, so we're gonna add some here. Also going in with some cumin, a little bit of coriander, granulated garlic, granulated onion, some paprika, some dry mustard, and some ancho powder. And I know there's already ancho in there, but I got it, might as well add it. And get this all mixed up. Beautiful. And now we add our lovely chili paste to the meat. And I don't really have a go-to recipe for chili because it's always something a little bit different, you know? I'll have the recipe for this one down below, but just remember, you may have seasoned your brisket differently than I did. Your stock may be different than I did, sodium-wise, so you really gotta just kind of taste and go with your gut on this one. But luckily, it's really not hard to make a good tasting Texas-style red chili. And just get that mixed in. As you can see, that brisket is already starting to break down, become nice and shreddy, and smelling really good. And at this point, we're gonna just let this cook down for the next hour or so, break up all these big chunks a little bit, add more beef stock or water as we see fit to make sure nothing burns until we get the consistency we're after, all the while tasting and adjusting for seasoning. This video is brought to you by Duracell. And we all know Duracell makes batteries, but check this thing out. It's like a giant battery. And this is the Duracell Portable Charging Hub M150. And I've been using this thing for a while now, and I gotta tell you, I absolutely love it. It's so simple, yet functional, and super convenient. And essentially what this thing is a portable charging hub with multiple charging ports, including 2 USB-C and 2 USB-A, as well as wireless charging on the top. Just take your phone, pop it right there, charging away. But the real cool feature is, it tilts, making for not only a quick charger, but also a great little stand. Other features include some cable storage in the back, comes with a dock for charging the battery itself, and it also has a built-in light with multiple brightness settings. Weighs about 1.8 pounds, meaning it's pretty lightweight, but also really sturdy, so it's not gonna fall over. 150 watt capacity and 15 watt wireless charging, which is pretty fast. And I've had this for a while now, and it's a game changer. I keep it next to my bed on the station, just charging like this, keeping this fully charged as well as my phone. And then when I wake up, just grab it and go. It's also convenient in the middle of the night if you need to do your business with that little light. For this channel, I do a lot of computer work, whether that's editing, emails, recipe research, and having a hub like this next to me at all times means my phone, my headphones, my laptop are never gonna die in the middle of an edit. And I tend to wander around a lot while I'm editing on my laptop, so having something that's portable is really convenient. But where this really comes in handy is when I'm cooking. Whenever I'm cooking a new recipe, I can have it right here on the table with my phone with the recipe pulled up while I'm trying out something new, making sure I never forget the pink salt. I also like to watch content while I'm grilling. So I can put this right next to my grill and watch some YouTube videos and keep myself entertained while I'm making dinner. So if you're interested in staying charged up this summer while grilling, click the link down below to check out the Duracell Charging Hub M150. Again, link down below. I highly recommend it. This thing is super cool. Thank you, Duracell. Next up, we gotta bust out our flour tortillas. Starting by going in with some bread flour, some kosher salt, and some baking powder. And get that all mixed up. Followed by our Wagyu beef tallow. Ugh. And get that cut in. And then lastly, we're gonna stream in our warm water. Let that turn into a dough ball and knead for about 2 minutes. Beautiful, and now out this comes. And just like that, beautiful dough ball is formed. I gave it a few kneads on the board here just to make sure everything is looking nice and smooth. And now we're gonna make some big old tortillas, 150 grams to be exact. Just like that for our big 12-inch tortillas. So for today's batch, I've got 4 jumbo 12-inch tortillas, and the rest I just turned into like 30-gram little guys. But as always, we're gonna just take these, fold all the seams to the underside so we have a nice smooth top, pinch it all together, flip it over seam side down, and give it the old table roll to make sure it is nice and smooth. And just like that, all rolled up, popping them in this tortilla warmer just to rest down, let that gluten relax. And we'll come back to these in probably an hour. Next up, let's go ahead and bust out some pickled jalapenos. Starting by going into this pot with some water, some white vinegar, some kosher salt, some white sugar, and some turmeric. Get that all nice and mixed up and bring it up to a simmer. And once up to a boil, we're gonna take our freshly chopped jalapenos, we're gonna throw in a couple cloves of garlic just for good measure. And then I'm gonna do this over a tray because turmeric stains the cutting board. And we're just gonna pour this right over the top. Oh, there we go. Thought I was gonna make it. Boop, love it. And now, lid goes on, let these cool down at room temp, pop them in the fridge when they're nice and cool. Pickled jalapenos are done. Checking back in on our chili. This has been cooking for the last hour or so. I've added water here and there just to make sure it doesn't reduce down too much. I think I put in 3 quarts total. 2 of those were beef stock, and then I ran out of beef stock, so water is just fine because my beef stock is very thick and full of gelatin. But at this point, it's not really looking too much like chili. It looks a lot like shredded beef stew or something like that. So I'm gonna do something that I like to do with chili that I always get a lot of flack for in the comments, and that is hit this with an immersion blender. I know, people don't like it, but this isn't really the texture I'm after for the application today. If I was just gonna eat this out of a bowl, this would be perfect as is. But to get that nice kind of spoonable Frito pie top, that chili cheese dog chili topper, I want it to be a little smoother. But as always, you do you. And just like that, not full puree, still got some chunks and strands in there, but this is a little more the texture I'm looking at. When I blended it up, it thickened up a lot, separating those strands a little bit, so I did add a little bit more water, but I'm pretty happy with that. But because I added more water, I'm gonna taste it and adjust the seasoning accordingly. But I gotta tell you, it smells really good. And at long last, it is finally time to press out these lovely looking tortillas. So, to the chud press. So we're gonna take this big old dough ball, plop it right in the middle here, and give it a nice hard press. Oh, it's a symphony of screams. That's a decent harmony. Sounds like the Joker is approaching. Big old tortilla, and we'll flip her over. Definitely messed up the shape on this one a little bit, and it's looking extra fluffy. I might have overdone it on the baking powder a little bit, but still looking good. Brooke, do you think we're gonna get full puff?
No.
Oh. But off it comes back into the warmer to steam and stay nice and warm. Big boy, number 2, going down. Woo, that's a better looking one, very big. Beautiful. Looking nice and puffy. All right, at long last, it's finally time to build our Frito pie crunch wrap. Starting by going down on this lovely, gigantic, freshly made beef fat flour tortilla. We're gonna start with a big, sloppy, healthy dollop of our chili, our smoky brisket chili, that is. Make it extra sloppy, folks. Actually quite nice to work with. Next up, we gotta go down with some lovely, freshly shredded cheddar cheese. And don't be shy, folks. A Frito pie needs a lot of cheese, even in crunch wrap form, especially in crunch wrap form. Beautiful. As for the crunch portion, you know we're going with Fritos. I mean, no surprise there. Although a tostada would work really well, and that's what's in the original Crunchwrap Supreme, but you know, Fritos just have their own characteristics, and I'm not gonna go light about it. Next up, a little bit of crema. Oh yeah. Beautiful. Top that with some cabbage. I'm going for cabbage instead of lettuce because it's got a little more structure, a little more crunch. And you know what? Instead of like a warm Hot Pocket-esque situation here, I think cabbage just makes more sense than hot iceberg lettuce. Top that with some of our tomatoes. Get a little worried about the fact that you made this thing way too big. Even spread, folks. A little bit of onion, if you're in the mood for some raw onion, but again, you do you. But in my opinion, both barbacoa and Frito pies always need a healthy amount of fresh onion. Really helps cut through all the richness. And then to top it all off, some pickled jalapenos, freshly made, and everything is just smelling so good. And because I likely made this way too big, we're gonna go on with the top tortilla, just a little baby guy that we whipped up. And now we just need to try and fold this thing up as pretty as possible. Get back in there. I think it's gonna work, although this side's looking a little bit tight. Yo, come on, veggies, don't be fighting me now. Yep, overfilled it, for sure. Not my best work, but I think we've done it. Let me see if I can flip this bad boy over. Ooh, there we go. Back onto the chud press we go. This thing's got some heft to it. We're gonna hope for the best. Beautiful. Might as well give it a little press. Try and seal up that bottom side a little bit. Judging by that sizzling sound though, I think some of our chili juice may have leaked out. The press is nice though, it really flattens everything out. I'm pretty sure they make these on a press at Taco Bell either way. Take a little peek, getting nice and toasty. Okay, we'll let that go for a minute. All right, moment of truth. Did it seal? Oh yeah, sure enough folks, we even got a little tomato poking out, but so far this is looking pretty good. And what a nice little package. Now we're gonna just get a little color on this top side, then we'll dive in and see how it came out. All right y'all, moment of truth for this ridiculous Frito pie crunch wrap. Let's go for it. I'm honestly surprised that it's not feeling as soggy as I thought it would. Ooh, nice and cheesy, full of chili, full of Fritos, and you can't even tell there's any veg on there the way it ought to be. But yeah, this is feeling really nice and soft, really meaty, and ready to dive in. I mean, what's not to like here, folks? Lots of cheese, lots of meat, got some freshness from the veg, all wrapped in a freshly made beef fat flour tortilla. And for comparison, I made a normal little Frito pie over here, but I'm ready. It is humid out here today. Let's go. Oh my God. That is phenomenal. It tastes like there's refried beans in there, but there's not. Oh, that is ridiculous. So good. This is what a crunch wrap at Taco Bell wishes it could be. You know, there they've got just like a soupy ground beef mixture, which is kind of gross. But this is what soupy ground beef should be. Chili. I don't know, it sounds weird, but the flavor is there, the texture is there. This is the first crunch wrap that actually comes close to them as far as like texture and technique is concerned, but instead of ground beef, it's brisket, so you know it's good. Nice and smoky. Ooh, pickled jalapeno in that bite, which is actually phenomenal. It bumps up the heat a little bit, but also adds the acid, which cuts through, which is necessary. I'm even still getting crunch from the Fritos, which is surprising. Oh, oops. Wow, it really does taste like a Frito pie, but easier to eat. So good, that tortilla, man, I'm telling you. It's also not too much tortilla, you know, with the 12-incher plus that little guy and all the Fritos. It actually helps make this a little less crap your pants territory than chili is by itself. Now, that's a keeper. This is another one of those things where I tried way too hard, but if you just get a can of chili and some big tortillas, you can throw this together for a weeknight meal really quick. And I highly recommend it because the flavor on that is just spectacular. A little bit of heat, really savory, smoky, cheesy. I mean, it's just good. Love it. I'm also just shocked that this thing isn't just dripping everywhere and the tortillas aren't sogged out, because that was a really greasy chili with all that brisket fat that melted into it, but there's some science about the crunch wrap I do not understand. It's so good. I also forget sometimes that I don't work at a restaurant anymore, and I made an alarming amount of chili. I diced up way too much veg because I don't think I could even eat a whole one of these. I'll definitely knock out this half though. Flavor bomb. I mean, I could eat the other half, but I just probably shouldn't. And with this very last bite of Frito Pie Crunchwrap Supreme, I think it's time for the official taste test. All right, Joe, and that is it. That is how to make a Texas chili Frito Pie Crunchwrap Supreme. I highly recommend giving this one a try. Like I said, you can make this as easy as you want, or you can go through all the steps, and really, it did not take that long to put together. And this is definitely the best Crunchwrap I've made on the channel so far. And I have made a few, and I'll definitely be making this one again. But all that being said, if you enjoyed this video, let me know by hitting that subscribe button. Let YouTube know by dropping a like on this video. If you give this recipe a try for yourself, be sure to tag me on Instagram at Chuds BBQ. I'd love to see what y'all are cooking. Big shout out to all the Patreon members. Thank you for supporting Team Chud and allowing me to keep making all these videos. And until the next time I see you, please go cook something outside. Peace.